Hello, and welcome to Discount Bin, your one-stop shop for all your philosophical needs. I'm Daniel. I'm here with Leonard,
Oh,
Rick,
Hey.
and Lexi.
Heyo.
Today, we're doing a special episode between series where Lexi's going to run us through some thought experiments. Take it away, Lexi.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? So I come to our podcast tonight with just a couple of thought experiments that I thought would be fun to talk with y'all. And if there has one that you have heard before or have discussed before, that's okay. We can do it again. It'll be a fun refresher. So this first one that I want to talk to you guys about is concerning like what is knowledge? Like what can we know and like does it matter on like how we know it? Does it matter the topic itself, whether or not we have knowledge of it? Are there things that we can't have knowledge? Are there questions that don't have answers, can never have a correct answer? So stuff like that. So this first one is known as Mary's Room. Have any of you guys heard of it?
Can't say that I have.
It doesn't sound familiar.
Okay. And so this
wait.
was...
Never mind. We'll get to it.
Yeah?
No,
Okay.
Yeah, never mind.
Okay.
Ignore me.
Oh, that's pretty hard to do. So Mary's Room is a thought experiment proposed by Frank Jackson. I'm sure you guys are all very acquainted with Frank Jackson.
Love
And
Frank.
That's my bro.
I'll go ahead and read it to you. Mary lives in a black and white room, reads black and white books, and uses screens that only display images in black and white to learn everything that has ever been discovered about color vision in physics and biology. One day, her computer screen breaks and displays the color red. For the first time, she sees color. Question, and we'll go ahead and we'll do it randomly. The question is, does she learn anything new? And I will get a device to randomize who can go first.
I'm guessing it's a D20.
It's actually a D6.
Just
I get 1 through 2. Leonard gets 3 through 4. Rick.
wait, but there's 4 of us.
Oh,
I mean,
I
Lexi's
I
not
can
gonna answer, I
too,
assume.
if you
I'd
want.
assume
I
that
wasn't
you'd
going
answer.
to. I will
Okay.
answer after.
Grab a D8.
She'll have the rebuttals.
Yeah.
No, a D6 is perfect. There's 3 of us.
There's 4 of us. She can get out of this.
Wait.
She doesn't have the right answer. This is all like thought experiments.
I'm hosting.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right, okay. Continue to host. 1 through,
Okay.
do your thing. That's a 6. What does that mean?
Is that what it landed on?
It is.
That means it's on Rick.
Does it?
Yeah.
Is that what the host decided?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you want, I can read it again.
I don't need the whole thing. What was the question specifically? Oh, did she learn anything?
So, for the first time she sees color, does she learn anything new?
Yes, but not of consequence. She has no extra comparison. She has a third option, assuming she recognizes it as a third option, but she has no bearing to compare it to anything else because it's not on like no matter what description she would have read up online about these concepts. Just being a red screen doesn't give you a second point of comparison to be like, oh, that's red because it's on a flower. But even then, it wouldn't really. There's not enough points of new information to have that associate to gain any useful knowledge besides for something new.
Okay, let's just go very basic. Yes or no? Does she learn anything new?
Yes.
Okay. Leonard, does she learn anything new?
Yes.
Okay. Daniel.
Yes.
Man.
I mean, if we
Okay.
can't dissect it, then it's like
I mean, it's also like I don't think she learns anything super useful about the color red. I don't know if she can recognize it as red. And but I think somebody who's seen black and white their entire life and finally sees a color would learn how it feels to see a new color. And I feel like that would be a pretty amazing feeling.
unless this whole thing's about is a new experience learning something versus
She knows
actually
how it
gaining
feels to see a new color.
perhaps.
So my first answer to this was no. She does not learn anything new. So when you guys say that yes, she learned something new, you talk about experience and feeling.
Yeah.
This to kind of further along the point, because I'm not sure if you guys are going to come to these terms naturally, but that is the point of showing that there are individual subjective components of experience and knowledge, also known as like quality. And this really has implication for what constitutes knowledge and mental states. Because that means that things exist that cannot be described by facts alone.
Correct. I would
I would say she's not learning anything like factual about the color red that she didn't know before. But yeah, it's more the experience of seeing red.
I mean,
I guess she's learning what it looks like.
I mean, there's a pretty big piece of information here. She sees a third color for the first time in her life. That means it opens up possibilities. It's like my world's not just two colors anymore. There's actually a third color out there. Like,
but she already knew that though,
Yeah,
based on the fact
she knows
researched
she
all
knows
of
everything about red already.
how to make it. Like, assuming she has all the other knowledge in the world, but her personal experience did not include the color red visibly. Like, just because you're colorblind, you can't see particular colors. You know they exist. You may not be able to recognize them and digest them. And by seeing them a new time, like for the first time with those cool glasses, using a real world example, like, do you gain new knowledge from seeing that color because you already knew it existed? You already knew, in this case, you already knew what was that color. But I would still argue that it's quantifiable. Like, yes, you on a personal standpoint did learn something new, and it gains you more opportunity to research and further knowledge. I don't recognize that color. What can we do to make comparisons? Like, I feel like there's a substantial increase in interaction that, like, and honestly, knowledge is it's a quantifiable interaction, right? It may not be quantifiable
Is it?
knowledge. I'm
Because
saying,
if you say yes, she learned something new, it's not quantifiable. There has
Why?
to be quality. Because she knows all the facts. She knows everything about the color red.
right? But like, if
But she
I
cannot
have never
believe
seen a
that.
planet before and I come up to a comet and I knew everything about comets and planets and I'm up 2 feet away and all I can see around me is this, am I on a desolate planet or a comet? Well, the fact that I'm just on this new thing gives me increased knowledge or experience of just being on there. Like, and then you have somewhere to step the platform from. Like, because she doesn't know everything without experience, so either. That would be another argument.
Yes. Yep. Another way to kind of explain this other side, like if she doesn't learn anything new, is thinking about like bats and like their sonar, their echolocation.
Mm-hmm.
So we've studied, like scientists, like we know so much about how it works and how useful it is to the bats, but we can never know what it's like to actually use it. We can only observe. We can only take notes.
Mm-hmm.
So do we actually know echolocation?
I would say no.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably get to the point when we know more about brains that we could, synthesize that or whatever. But no, like we don't know what it's like to make our brain do a thing, and then something bounces back, and we're like, oh, there's a wall there, you know?
So ultimately, this whole big thing is she's not knowledgeable before. She's got a gap in knowledge. She's experienced something new.
That's the
I
question.
mean,
She's gained
so
knowledge.
okay.
Whether or not she knows specifically, whether or not she understands this is that particular thing,
Okay.
new experiences.
I think the question is whether experience is necessary for full knowledge.
Also, like the point is that subjective elements are of a thing are they knowledge? Like if somebody's subjective experience valuable and viable for knowledge.
I mean, low quality knowledge, sure, but it's still knowledge.
Yeah. Well, so yeah. Okay. That was it for that one.
You don't want to fight over it anymore?
Yeah. No. So what?
Wait,
when
let's
I
get
first heard.
let's get your opinion too. Before
So
we
when I
move on.
first heard that when I was younger, I definitely said no, because like she already, like, by the definition of the thought experiment, she has learned everything that there is to learn with color, and seeing it, sure, that's great, but she doesn't learn anything new, right? She sees it, but she doesn't glean any new knowledge. She feels it, she experiences it, but there's no new knowledge has been gained.
I
What do
actually
you feel
disagree
now?
with the first part a little bit. Like the fact that she already knows everything she knows about the color, that is not true, because if you have not seen it, how can you truly have known it?
That's the point.
You're already missing knowledge. You're missing a piece of knowledge.
Well,
Therefore, if you see it for the first time, you're filling in that final gap of the knowledge. So the answer should be yes.
So in this example, the way I imagine it, Mary knows exactly, like, all the hex colors, all the RGB colors. She knows every single code. She knows exactly how much light refracts. She knows the waves. She knows exactly what colors humans can see and what colors cannot. She knows way more about color than I ever would. And then so for her, simply seeing the color red adds nothing to her vast knowledge. Like, she sees it, but she doesn't, like, learn anything from it. Does she get a new hex value? Does she learn anything about how it refracts in her own eyes?
Does she recognize herself that she knows everything?
I don't know. That
Because,
is
like,
not
doesn't know
clearly
everything.
stated.
Because if she, I mean, I know this is going a little off, like a little tangent, but if she does not recognize that she knows everything about color, then she might consider the fact that what she's seeing is a new color. I know. It doesn't work that way, but like a new piece of information.
There's also a minutia here, is that so black and white aren't colors. Like, this is her first time seeing color ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why the comparisons mattered.
Yeah.
The first statement is still wrong though. She doesn't know everything there is to be about colors.
So here's the sentence from the thought experiment. Okay. So Mary lives in a black and white room, reads black and white books, and uses screens that only displays images in black and white to learn everything that has ever been discovered about color visions in physics and biology. So she has learned everything.
So the first discovery is wrong
including
then.
what it looks like, right?
Well, you can't.
Yeah, she can. It's the color strawberries. It's the color.
Describe a color. Describe red without describing an object that's red.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah, like this value, this other value, and this third value.
Yeah, I like the bat analogy, because or any other like non-human experienceable item as an analogy, because like, yeah, you can study bats for 70 years, you can be the most knowledgeable person ever to be on bats, but you'll never experience sonar, like, echolocation.
Yeah, but is that experience knowledge though? Like, is there?
Oh, I would argue that it is knowledge, but I'd also argue that she didn't have the capacity to have that knowledge until now. Like, yes. You're right. It might be low. Like, in particular, her case, it would be a super low quality knowledge. She knows she saw something. She doesn't know what it is. So it's like she just knows that she had a new experience, and it's likely to do with, like, I would imagine she'd be able to figure out it's a different color, but maybe not. Maybe she just thinks she has a stroke and just dismisses it.
I think she is knowing that she is seeing the color that is been purported to be red.
Is she black and white? I know this is not a part of the thought experience either. I just want to make sure that like
she
she's
has
got
to
no.
be.
Has she
Yeah, she has
bled?
to be.
No,
I think
Like
she's
what
black
happens
and white.
what happens once a month? Like has she like? Is she, I mean,
this is
You don't need a
philosophy is a
bleed to see
male-dominated
red. Like,
field.
what?
no,
Philosophy
never.
is a male-dominated field. I'm pretty sure they're not thinking about menstruation.
Well, then clearly they don't have full knowledge to actually ask such a question.
No one does.
The people coming up with the questions don't even have the knowledge to ask the correct questions. Therefore,
Gosh.
Question is
Nobody's
flawed.
ever created a black and white person and put them in a black and white world and made them
the
study
question
everything about
itself is
colors.
flawed. Yeah.
There's going to
It's
be a
not
lot of holes in all
flaw.
these questions today.
Yeah.
That's why we sit here and argue about them.
Yeah, and also like we're not looking to come to like a common conclusion. Really, we're just trying to figure out like how we think, what we think, the values that we measure everything else in our life by.
I do like that concept of quality of knowledge versus But-
quantity.
yeah.
Or-
Well, not even quantity, quality, because I mean that would be like a low quality. That's like getting a Mac error message that just says go contact your administrator without ever
So-
giving you an error code, or something like that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, this is like cool, something's wrong. That's low quality knowledge. I know something's wrong now.
So later, this guy, Frank Jackson, he actually writes more on this, and he names this quality, and he names it qualia, which is why I called it quality.
Mhm.
And like he names this because it is a different kind of knowledge. Like it is,
It's not book learning.
it's not book learning, and it goes back to that entire concept of theory versus practice. To like people who go to school for 4 years to learn how to do something, whereas somebody has been doing that thing already. Like they each collect different kind of knowledge. Okay, you guys ready for the next one?
Sure.
Okay, this next one is called Buridan's Ass. I know this dude is French, so I don't actually know how
Muriden's
to.
ass.
I heard
Buridan. Buridan. Jean Buridan, maybe.
Burden's
Um,
ass.
Yes, we're going to be talking about ass. Okay. Imagine a donkey placed precisely between two identical bales of hay. The donkey has no free will and will always act in the most rational manner. However, as both bales are equidistant from the donkey and offer the same nourishment, neither choice is better than the other. So my question for you guys is, how can it choose? Does it choose at all, or does it stand still until it starves?
I think that's Leonard.
Sure, why not? Donkey won't be able to choose. You did say he doesn't have free will in the first place, so isn't that just the end of the conversation?
Is that your interpretation?
Say donkey has no free will, so why does the two bale haze matter? He doesn't eat unless he's told. Somebody said, I mean, I don't. Yeah, doesn't sound like a very complicated question.
So Leo is a no, it doesn't choose at all.
Yeah, because if it does, then your first statement of it has no free will is untrue. Assuming your question is not flawed, that is true.
It says it always does what is logical, though.
Mm-hmm.
What
Is it
not
logical?
What is not logical is to stand there and die when there's food sources around you. So I think he just walks to either one. It doesn't matter.
So he has free
Because
will.
he's logical enough
So
to not.
The donkey has no free will and always acts in the most rational manner.
Yes.
The
So
always
it's
rational
rational to go eat food and not stand there dying like an idiot.
So which one would he go after, Leonard? He is moving to eat in this case because.
Oh no, Leonard already answered.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Leonard is by the book.
I got a very important question that this undoubtedly answers right in the next line. Is this ass right-footed or left-footed?
Oh my gosh, this isn't a riddle.
I know it's not, but depending on what it primarily moves from will
So,
probably
Do you
dictate
guys want a fun
ambidextrous.
fact? Do you guys want a fun fact?
that. What's that?
So, in the animal kingdom, all animals are either left-hand dominant or right-hand dominant, except for parrots and humans. Humans are mostly right-hand dominant. I think it's 95-5, and parrots are 90-10 left-hand dominant.
That is a fun fact. I write left-handed, but I do everything else right-handed and right-footed for like soccer, kickball, or whatever.
That's pretty cool. Do you get those special notebooks?
No, well, I don't get any notebooks anymore. I don't
Oh.
use notebooks. I use notepads on my computer.
I would just say based on the right left leg would determine either the right or left bay of hail. Fuck. Bale of hay. I can't fucking talk. Bale of hay
Hey,
would
Bill.
would be picked majority of the time by just logically being the first one that they got to because of them starting with like they'd be leaning to the right. They'd be leaning to the left by the time they hit the bay or the hail bay. Fuck.
Straw.
Bale hay. Yeah, straw.
Even though.
It's hay. It's not straw because you don't.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
That's
What do you think?
completely determined. That's
So Rick,
situation.
what is your answer?
It's dependent on whatever. If he's fatter on the right side that day or left side, it just depends on his motion and whatever one he. I know it's the same distance, but if you generally walk right because you're right-handed, it's gonna go to the right.
So
Just
we're
based-
gonna go on left-handed or right-handed.
Right?
Okay.
So, Lexi, you said it was parrots and humans that are most likely to be left-handed?
No. Humans are right-hand dominant and parrots are left-handed.
Oh, okay.
Left-handed.
But most creatures are otherwise what?
Otherwise, 50-50.
Oh, 50-50. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's why you see crabs they have different
It's interesting that the two like outliers are the ones that have speech. I don't know if that's connected at all, but
yeah.
somebody smarter than me probably does know.
Hopefully they're not in a black and white room. What was your take on it?
I want to hear Daniel's first, or I can go first too. But
Wait, I already went.
Yeah, he definitely did.
I didn't write it down. I'm sorry.
Oh, it will pick either one. It doesn't matter. It will just go eat some hay because it doesn't want to stand there dying because it's rational.
Honestly, that fucker is gonna eat both.
Rick's pick a hand thing is probably the way it would go. Like hand dominant, or hoof dominant, as the case may be. But yeah, I don't think it's just gonna stand there and die because that's not rational.
It is
So-
very rational.
I agree with Leonard. I believe it will stand there and die because it's not about more rational either. It is most rational, and it is most rational to eat the Bay of Hill, and there are two bays of Hill equidistant.
Bay of Hail.
Yeah, I did it. I said it
Twice.
Oh,
I can tell you from experience that those fuckers will eat whatever.
Wait,
And
so it's most rational to just stand there and die, is what you're saying?
So because both options are the same, it can't choose because
But-
neither is most.
Hold on.
And with
it can't choose anyway. It doesn't have free will. It doesn't get a choice.
Right.
The choice is eat.
The choice is no free will and whatever is most rational, and they are both they both have a value of most, right? So there isn't one that is most. they're the same, and therefore a choice like it cannot follow through.
So you think the concept of choice, even though they don't have a choice, but assuming they had a choice, even though that they're the exact same values, that there's no overlaying survival choice that is the most rational out of these, that would take
We
over.
just have the information in the thought experiment,
Right.
which is that it will what it does decide on, what it chooses. It's not actual choice because the donkey doesn't have free will, but it is going to be the most. It always acts in the most rational manner.
And the most rational manners: eat and poop.
Die. Most rational option here is to die.
Technically, you know what?
If you have no free will, why live? Like, what's the very
that's a
popular
whole
American
different
saying?
conversation.
I would be willing to die for
Let's
freedom.
go.
You know, like
I'm
Leonard-
into that argument. Yeah,
So-
I don't believe in
I don't
free
know.
will.
I don't know
I
why
don't
it's
believe in
so.
free will either.
All right, back to this thought experiment. Before that's books, thousands of books have been written about free will. Anyway,
Should read just one of them.
it is not choosing one of them is not more rational, because there's nothing in it that says it had, or did the thought experiment say it has to choose the larger one?
They are the exact same size.
Yeah.
Um,
So he's not programmed to choose the larger one. He's programmed to, I don't even know what to make a rational decision, the most rational decision.
No, he always acts in the most rational manner.
Yes.
That is not dying.
Yes. What is rational about standing there and starving to death?
Okay.
You stop having to choose.
I think
Rationality isn't the problem anymore.
Okay. Would it be better? So there's another version of this.
Okay.
Okay. So you still have an ass, and it is
that's good.
Giggity.
nice ass, you guys, all of you. You have a donkey, and it is equally thirsty and hungry. And it is in between a bale of hay and a pail of water that are equidistant.
Okay.
So
I think the problem, and
I mean,
where
it's got to
this
go
breaks
for the
down-
water,
Yeah.
assuming you starve or you die of dehydration before you die of hunger, right? So
It doesn't know that, but biologically it knows that, right? Like that's the problem with using a creature instead of a program. Like if you had a program that had to pick the two, sure, it wouldn't have the concept, it wouldn't have the biological ticker saying go do this. And I agree with that argument.
But either way, you're also changing the thought experiment after.
Okay. Exactly.
No, I mean, it's the same principle, like with like a circuit, right?
Right. But the problem is that circuit is way more simple than a biological creature that has all these background processes going on, like eat, shit, pee, fuck, eat. Oh, well, that was basically it. I got through all of them, but you know what I mean. Like that's the problem, right? Because like using this as an example, the goats. You know, the goats. We have a smorgasbord of minerals out, like all these different types of minerals. They will not touch it. But the moment they feel like they need it, they'll go over, they'll get a hunger, and they'll start eating straight like baking powder because they need the minerals. They need that stuff. It's not because like they're all equidistant apart. The goat's not starving, but it knows I need this because it smells it and its body is ticking and saying I need this mineral, so we'll go eat that mineral. It's not making a conscious choice.
Okay.
This is a snack for today. And so that's the problem by using the ass, is because it's a creature that has these background processes beyond just a simple computer program or a simple circuit. Simple circuit, sure. If you've got a thing and it's got two things it's got to go to and it can't decide, it'll get analysis paralysis and be stuck. But it's not.
So with that in mind, let's go ahead and like invert it, okay? And think about how this
Water is going to
Okay, so in our lives, when we make choices that are, is it always like, should we make the most rational decisions? Like, are the most rational choices the best choices?
Usually, but not always, is my opinion on that.
Agreed with that. The problem is like we're not talking life and death anymore. We're not talking about starving to death, standing still. Now we're talking two different decisions. You're talking about introducing gambling into this, basically, or, I mean, I'll just leave it. I'll simplify it down to that. Now you're introducing gambling to this. Now, did one of those say, are we gonna do the money with the money hall question coming up next?
We can do Monty Hall. I think was Daniel there when we were talking about Monty Hall? He was not.
I think Leonard will yell really angrily at it.
When were we talking about it? Before I got on?
No,
it
in the
was
past.
Rick was
Gotcha.
very, very drunk. And it was
I like
a
the
lot
money
of
hall.
fun. Okay. And also, so it is fundamentally like most thought experiments are like pretty open-ended, but this one is pretty like close-ended that that the donkey does die. And then because of how absurd that is what like cracks open like whether or not like the deterministic quality of like this choice.
It is funny because, like, if we did this experiment in real life, that is not the fucking. I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Right,
and I
right,
get it.
yeah.
We're picking it apart too
Well-
much in real life because these aren't real life questions. And I'm sorry for
Yeah.
going into
No,
to that. There's going to be the gut
that's-
reaction of yes, it dies. That's what they're gunning for. That
Yeah.
you can't make a decision. But then
Yeah.
when you actually start dissecting, like, part of this is going to be dissecting it and being like, well,
Well,
yes, but no, because like you put,
so
it's not going to die like in a normal scenario.
right, and I 100% agree with you because I do believe that there is no free will, but I believe that there's so many other factors that you can't account for in a single thought experiment, like the
Right.
right or left-handed dominated, which side is like the wind blowing, like
Right.
it could be so many other factors.
Or the basic need to survive.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Daniel, did you hear that? The donkey died.
Yeah, I heard. I'm devastated.
Me too.
It's better.
I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna pretend it was Misha the whole time.
I kind of want to talk to you guys more about what is knowledge and what can we know. Oh, have you guys done the ship of Theseus?
Yes. I mean, that's.
Yeah,
I think that's a more
whatever.
common one.
Yeah.
I
But
don't think I have.
okay, do
What
it.
is it?
Roll
Okay.
through it real quick.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So we'll do ship of Theseus and then Monty Hall. Okay. All right. Everyone knows the legend of Theseus, the Athenian youth who sailed to Crete, descended into the labyrinth, and slew the Minotaur. According to the Greek historian Plutarch, the Athenians preserved Theseus's ship for posterity. As time passed, any rotting or decaying planks were replaced with new timber in order to keep the ship in good repair. This led to a dispute among philosophers as to whether or not the repaired vessel ought to be regarded as the same as the original. So Daniel, since you haven't heard this one.
Is sounding familiar.
Yeah. So
Very common.
Yeah, this is a really common one.
Mhm.
Is this ship of Theseus 100 years later the same ship of Theseus?
I'd say yes and no. Like, I know it's a real cop-out bitch answer, but
Yeah.
I mean, as long as there's parts of it, it still kind of is, but it's not,
Okay, this
The
is
original.
100 years later.
so are
it
there
is-
no original parts?
There are no
Okay, then it's
original.
definitely not then.
Okay, so
Can I-
are you the same person? Oh, go ahead, Rick.
No, that's it. Like,
Go,
there's two parts to that. You're going
Yeah.
right on it. Are you,
Okay,
go,
so-
finish that. It's-
You're just so excited.
I
So are you not the same person that you were 10 years ago?
No, of course not.
You are not Daniel.
I mean, I still have the same name, but that doesn't mean I'm the same person I was 10 years ago. I would hope you guys aren't the same person you were 10 years ago. Don't you grow
Okay, so
and
I'm sorry,
evolve?
Okay, we're not
And,
talking
like-
about. I'm talking about you physically.
Yeah, I've got mostly new cells. I've got
Technically
an extra
speaking-
150 pounds. I'm like,
I
I
think
lost
there's
some hair in the back now.
I think there's cells in your eyeballs that never actually get swapped out.
Okay.
I think
Huh?
so. If we're gonna make the literal physical argument of it, there's still a little bit of Daniel left in there.
Okay.
But
Mostly not.
but that is twofold. There is no yes or no because in the sense of you are the same person in a literal legal a couple of other senses, right? But absolutely, you're not the same person.
Yeah.
But like, at what point during these minute changes did that change happen? Like, are you a different person from 3 seconds ago? Or are you a different person from 5 minutes ago? Or are you a different person from 10 minutes ago, an hour ago, a year ago, however long? What point does that change you as a person? Or what point are you just incorporating new things into your person? And that's the same thing with the boat. As these wood planks are being put on, do they become a part of the boat, or are they just a new part of the boat waiting for the other new parts?
I think it's just
Okay, I have another example of this.
Okay.
Okay. So this is written by Donald Davidson. Suppose a man is out for a walk one day when a bolt of lightning disintegrates him. Simultaneously, a bolt of lightning strikes a marsh and causes a bunch of molecules to spontaneously rearrange into the same pattern that constituted that man a few moments ago. The swamp man, which is the name of this thought example.
Star Trek problem.
I know, this is exactly this is how I always bring it up too, is Star Trek teleportation.
Okay. Let me finish reading this.
Sure.
This swamp man has an exact copy of the brain, memories, patterns of the behavior as he did. It goes about its day, works and interacts with the man's friends, and is otherwise indistinguishable from him.
Yep.
Is the swamp man the same person as the disintegrated fellow?
Okay.
And we'll roll the dice.
Totally changing the thought experiment again, but that's fine.
I mean,
it changes the timeline, but
no, I mean it's a boat with all new pieces, and like literally, they're not the same molecules of wood, and wood can't think. Like, it's comparing a boat to a human, which is just not an apt comparison because people are way more complicated than wood.
Do you have a different answer than that? Then is this answer change with this part?
No, not at all. I think the boat is still not the same boat.
No, the person. If you teleport in Star Trek, are you the same person on the other end?
Yes. I think it doesn't matter.
Do you believe in a soul?
Yes.
Do you believe that soul teleports with the
maybe? I'm not so confident to say no. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
I think
you believe in what is real is maybe two different things too. So
I think it doesn't really matter, right? Like, this person is the exact same person in every way that matters.
But hold on, only from an external sense.
I mean,
right?
No, internal senses.
Absolutely not. Because like, if you died right now, we immediately did a quick clone of you to the exact same thing. Your psyche's not going to jump from one to the other unless you have a soul to attach it in that sense. If you believe in that concept.
I thought that was like,
So like, if you cloned a hard drive, if you made 40 of yous, are you all the same person now? I mean,
once you're a split second in, you start to change and have different experiences. And
say time has passed. Say it's just the exact same molecules.
Yeah. If you clone yourself and you have the exact same, like, your brain, especially your brain, is the exact same, then yeah, you're the exact same person.
So and your consciousness going from point A to point B, you think that stream goes to point B, or does that break and a new one starts at point B?
It breaks and a new one starts.
Okay, so your consciousness line is the same person? If you think it's still you, does that break not separate you from yourself?
Not in any way that matters.
Externally, because like, you're dead, right? And the new version of you doesn't recognize that you died.
Exactly.
But I would say that's a new person then.
Well, maybe.
And this is my belief, is I believe every time you transport in Star Trek, you fucking murk yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I can see that. And I don't think it matters because.
But this is the thought experiment.
Sure.
Maybe it doesn't. It doesn't,
yeah.
Especially doesn't matter externally.
So the purpose of the teletransportation paradox is to establish a basis for personal identity based on memory. So, like, if you...
the new person will have the exact same memories, right?
Right, so that is
person.
your...
I like your phrasing.
I mean, you have to distinguish between them somehow, and it's a new person.
But
they were created from nothing. I mean, sort of.
So when you get put into, like, the Dyson Sphere Matrix-like program in the future, and you just live out 40,000 years in a computer, still the same guy? I mean, as much as you can be over 40,000 years?
I don't know what the Dyson sphere is.
I super futuristic society concept where basically there's a point in which civilizations might expand to, like with space travel and stuff, and one of them is you basically build an entire like super device around a star to constantly gain energy, infinite energy, supply for all your societal needs. So basically you turn the star into an exoplanet kind of thing. It's pretty fun. It's a fun concept, but anyway, different thing.
So another way, so you think it's the same person? Well, like it doesn't matter that they're different people, but they should be identified as the same person.
Yeah.
Okay, so say that Daniel A, you murder somebody, and then you go through the transporter.
I love this one. Yep.
And then you come out the other side. Should you be tried?
Absolutely. Because that person murdered someone. In their mind, in their memory, they have those same intentions, those same murderous intent that they had. And that's not a safe person that you want walking around.
But it's been 2 seconds later. They could have a different theory on it. Like, man, that was really fucked up. Like, I'm
sure lots of people that murder people are like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. That doesn't make it okay.
I mean, he already kind of believed it was the same person, so.
Yeah.
And, you know, in these cases, because this is a society, you still have to suffer repercussions from something you did, say, 10 years ago, too, even though you're definitely not the same person.
I think the more interesting one is the, like, brain damage person. Like, you know, person A commits murder, then gets severe brain damage, or gets a tumor taken out that, like, completely changes the way they think. Should they still be prosecuted for murder?
What do you think, Lexi?
I think they shouldn't be held accountable for.
You just gave thumbs up to Shafa.
No, because Shafa is different.
Really?
Because he literally being mind controlled.
And he had a tumor taken out. Ha! No, we win.
No, Shafa is no. Shafa is different.
Look at Leonard just like in pain over here. It's great.
What do you think, Leonard? Should they be charged?
Yeah.
Brain tumor taken out?
Yeah, fuck them. Like it almost reminds me of the whole like accept Jesus, he'll take all your sins away. That kind of that drives me nuts.
Well, okay.
I know it's not really
there's
relevant,
like actual science behind brain tumors making people more violent. Like not every brain tumor, but there have been plenty of them that like complete personality change, you know. Person goes from 60 years of being a good husband, good father, good whatever, and then all of a sudden just murders someone. And
well, somebody needs to be held accountable.
Not always.
Hold the tumor accountable.
Yeah, it got pulled out and killed.
No, fuck that.
I
mean, by that logic, you could also just accuse alcohol accountable. Like, there's so many things that you could flip.
Okay, alcohol is definitely different. Alcohol is a choice. You choose to ingest a mind-altering substance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody chooses a tumor.
Well, nobody chooses to be drugged either, right? Like,
I definitely did last week, and I'm doing it right now.
Somebody has to be responsible for whatever happened, right? Like, if you...
No.
They're natural disasters. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Natural disasters are a completely different story, right? Like,
Well,
like, who do you hold accountable for a natural disaster?
Nobody. There are natural disasters that happen, like a tumor in somebody's brain.
People will realize that, but can you really tell that? Let's say someone with brain tumor murdered someone in your family.
So I'm curious, Leonard. This actually gets into another conversation. What is the purpose of incarceration, and what is it to do? Is it to make society better? Is it to get vengeance? Is it to appease the family that's affected? Is it to re-educate and rehabilitate the perpetrator? Like, what is the purpose of this? And when you get into like, especially lifetime sentences,
sounds like for Leonard, it's punishment.
It's a little bit for all of those, right? Like, how many people who's lost you think you can get them to accept what you're talking about? It's a brain tumor, so it's totally not our fault. Yeah, my kid, you ran over my kid because you had a brain tumor. Sure, no problem. How many people can you really see?
You don't say sure, no problem.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean you have to put them in jail.
Then what? What do you want them to do? What is the right course of
It's
action?
a natural tragedy.
Like a person, like it depends again on your philosophy on it behind, do you believe in rehabilitation and reintroduction and re-education, or do you just want them to go to jail forever? Do you just want them to be punished? Now if you want them to go to jail forever, why not then just kill them? Like, I mean, if they don't get any version of free will anymore, then what's the point of it? Why are they a drain on society now? Why do we even keep them alive if
And
you're going to go that
what's
route?
the point of putting them in prison?
Yeah,
What's the goal?
I'll give you one very honest answer. I don't give a shit about any of that.
Okay, well,
Like I don't know
that's
what
just
I
lazy
want. I
thinking.
don't know what I want here because I feel like there's so many conversations to be had with all the parties involved in the whatever incident that happens. Like every case is gonna be different. You guys generalize it to the point like, oh, what's the point of this? What's the point of that? But every situation has its own set of conditions and parties
Absolutely.
We're
relevant.
giving you a very specific case here.
No, you didn't. You're like,
guy
what's
with
the
a
point of incarceration?
A guy
What's
with
the
a
point of
tumor killed
rehabilitation?
someone who had a lifetime of not killing people and being a good citizen in his background, and he went and killed someone. They found out he had a tumor, they removed it, and he's back to being like normal.
Then it matters to the family who lost the person, right?
Sure,
So
but
does
how
the
much of
family
that
get
should
to
be
decide
illegal?
the punishment?
I think that's the path of least evil, maybe. Who
What if
who are
you
you
find
gonna
out
give
in
the
a
power
month
to?
from now that
Who
person didn't
would you
even do
give
it?
that power to if not them? Let me ask you this.
I mean,
A
the
neutral
judicial
party.
system.
Yeah, you build the judicial systems out to deal with these kind of problems. That's
There's
literally
no-
the purpose.
So you
No.
don't believe in the
I-
judicial system.
I don't think this judicial
I mean-
system has enough of the understanding of the situation to make the right decision here.
It's right
It
to different
sounds-
people.
I mean, the family is literally like the most biased of anyone in this situation.
And they have a right to be.
I mean, then why have a judicial system at all? Like, go ahead, Lexi.
For
Get us back
cases
on
when it's
track.
truly malicious, hello. I mean, we're not having a judicial system just for this one particular case, right? We have actual criminals we can prosecute as well. Why is it like down to this one specific,
because
very
we were-
specific scenario to question the validity of the jury, the judicial system?
Because
It's not.
it happens. This does happen.
And
So
that's the conversation piece. Like that's what it started from, right? Is whether you're responsible for something that's happened if you were a different person, essentially. In a different scenarios, it's going to be different answers for sure.
yeah, and absolutely, and this is not even like the most murders, right? Like, and the practical applications is just that like this does exist, and that are like right now we're talking about our justice system, our judicial system, and it is not 100% effective. It does not always come to the right conclusion, right? Because a right is subjective. Everybody has different opinions. And so what we need to do is come up with a system that is like ethical and that is definable outside of these subjective opinions. And you
But
do
even
that
then,
by considering, and even then, like different ethical systems, different philosophies.
yeah, you need to figure out exactly what you even want for the end game, right? Like it
Yeah.
comes.
Is it revenge? Is it, yeah. Go ahead.
Leonard, does your opinion change if this guy, instead of running over a kid or killing some kid, what if he kills some drug dealer or some murderer, and this person he kills is just a terrible person?
Like I said, it depends on the party who's lost, right? If the
Maybe this
family,
terrible
no family.
person has a terrible family.
What if
and,
it's
like,
baby Hitler?
All right.
Okay, I'm done.
I mean, if there's no
I'm just trying to
family,
like.
Rick.
I mean, is that why we have like we're supposed to have like a tiered system? If there's no family to make the decision, somebody else's does. Like eventually, it falls down to
The
the
family
judicial
never makes
system.
the decision.
In the U.S., the family makes no decision.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
They
we
can
have
press
the
judges.
thing.
charges. They can press charges, but that's where their decision ends, and that's only to a degree. Because once it hits a particular level, like they don't even get that option anymore.
So
It's
yeah,
usually-
like you asked me earlier, who should make the decision? And if there's no family to make the decision, then whatever's next, which is probably the judicial system.
Okay, so you're on board with the most biased person making all the decisions in our judicial system. Just want to get this on record.
No,
Okay,
hold on.
you can't
hold on.
also say most biased because there's a lot
Second,
of.
second most biased. The murderer probably is the most biased.
Yeah, maybe.
mean,
Unless they just don't care.
It's hard because like there are people that do change and like have like a new identity and new values. They have new values. And then you have people that pretend to have new values and they'll use it as a cop out, like those people, some of those people in prison that are like, "Oh, I found Jesus." And like, "Let me go." They go to their probation hearings. And it's just a load of shit, right?
Sure.
But there are people who do make the genuine changes.
Yeah.
That's hard to
And-
decipher.
And you can't know. Like you
Yeah.
like from coming from the outside.
Yep.
So then it's like, what do you assume? Then do you do blanket denial for everyone, or do you do a blanket acceptance? And I think that is what we're discussing. Is
Basically.
to give people benefit of the doubt.
Or even
not.
give them the opportunity to. Like, not
Yeah.
just been like
I guess when it comes to people transformation, right? It's very hard to say if they are really a different person because it all comes down to whoever, the person's perspective of them, right? Like the people they wronged or the people who are close to them. Like everyone is going to have a different viewpoint. Some will see
Yes.
them as never have changed.
Yeah.
Some will see have changed for the better. Because at the end of the day, it's how they are perceived by each individual person. And I think everyone has a different tolerance level of like how much you need to change before you are truly different. And every person you ask is going to give a different response because of how close they are to the subject, right? And I think I view myself as a kind of in an extreme, like I will almost never forgive kind of person. And even in stories, like even like Shafa's story, for example, I haven't forgiven him because I feel like my threshold for forgiveness is very, very high. And in all the books I've read, I think I've only ever come across maybe one character, where I actually forgave them. But I feel like it ultimately comes down to the individual. And on that note, I don't know if you guys saw me play a Steam game a few months ago called Chain Echoes. There's a certain character development in there where this guy was like the biggest scumbag I've ever met, and I was so sure that I was never going to forgive him. But by the end of the game, I did. And I guess for me, it was more like the experience of knowing how much this person has changed and like how much effort was put into it, right? And I think another player might forgive them earlier, another player might forgive them later. But for me, by the end, I did, and I thought that's what made it felt like good writing to me. But at the same time, yeah, your whole conversation reminded me of that. I'm like, yeah, I'm never gonna forgive this asshole. And I was like, wait, I actually did one character recently. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's also a fun tangent. I'm not saying we should go on it now, but for another one is whether or not a person really is just how they're perceived to be. When a tree falls in a forest, does it make a noise?
Sure.
Because, yeah.
I feel like that's actually a big argument for the ship of Theseus, but yeah. Because would the ship see himself as the same person? Probably. In the general sense.
I think the ship would still identify as the ship of Theseus, which is why we have such a hard time saying that we're new people when we go through the teleporter.
Exactly. Which is like the
I had
argument
a
is like
really easy time saying that. What are we talking about?
No. If you're being held for accountable for a previous person, I don't think
I gotcha. Yeah.
you've actually argued both sides of that argument tonight, Daniel.
Yeah. For me, it's really
I
simple.
saw that.
If the guy owes me $1 million and he steps through the teleporter and shows up at the other side and he forgets about my dad, I'm going to make sure he remembers it.
Again, that's external versus internal too. Yeah. But yeah.
And if he does remember it, fine, he's the same person.
So if it fucked up and came out twice, do they owe you $2 million? Does each one owe you $1 million?
Oh, that's amazing. You make sure they never see each other, right?
I mean,
You make sure they never see
they
each
still
other?
only have one bank account, even though there's two of them.
True, maybe.
No.
If they never met each other, oh, that'd be even better. If they've never even knew each other existed, or like you teleported, it fucked up, and it teleports you over there, but your real body's still here too. So it's like, oh, it never went, but it actually did. Now you've got two of you running around, and you just don't know.
Oh, sweet. You make them both initiate the transaction at the exact same time.
Then it just breaks and doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't think that flies with the banks. You literally work at a bank. Like, hopefully you have some protection against that.
Make sure you ask for half of the amount of money they have, and then you just let them both do it.
All right, Lexi. Should we move
Yeah,
on? Next one?
Yeah, we can move on. There was one that I was reading earlier that I wanted to do with you guys. Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question to prime your brain pump.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Okay, I want each of you to mentally make a list of things you do that bring you happiness. For example, participating in a favorite sport, pursuing a hobby or pastime, spending time with your children, socializing with friends, and so on.
Do we have to
Okay.
order them?
No. Just hold them in your mind.
Okay.
Can't do that. My list
Yeah.
is already gone. What was it again?
Yeah.
Things
Make a
that
list of things that
make
make
a
you
list.
happy.
that bring you happiness.
Oh no.
Shit,
Not
what
sure
if
what the
that list is
difference
empty?
Oh,
Yeah, this is a pretty sad one here.
Does trouncing noobs make you happy?
Trouncing
I feel like
noobs.
there's a difference.
Not
between,
really.
like,
Those actually, when it's too easy,
thrill.
that's definitely not.
That's like
Yeah.
a difference between thrill and happiness, right? What is like if you get like a thrill
That's-
for just one moment, is that considered happiness?
It's up to you. Like things that you do that make you happy, things that you don't have to do for work, things that you do for your pleasure.
I'm not sure Leonard has anything that makes him happy.
I think
I
he
don't-
does.
I freaking love eating cheesecake. You know, that first bite is like amazing, and it feels like
Cheesecake is so
happiness.
good.
Yeah, it's kind of
I
like
mean,
pancakes.
that first bite is like amazing, right? And is
Oh
that
my
happiness or is that like just a moment that is fleeting? Like what is?
I get it.
Crazy.
It's kind of like pancakes are like representative of life. That first bite is fantastic, but by the time you get to the end of that soggy, gross mess, it's like the worst thing you're
That's-
experiencing.
You guys are so wrong on every account. Oh my god.
What? Cheesecake
Alright,
is amazing.
Cheesecake
you are
is
wrong.
gross, and the soggy
What?
last bits of pancake is the best.
Cheesecake
That's-
is amazing.
Cheesecake
cannot
is
believe
you just
so
said that.
Also,
There's-
the soggy last bit of pancakes is amazing. Also,
Okay.
I don't like pancakes.
what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Okay.
All right, let's start it up.
Imagine that super neuroscientists have created a machine that can simulate pleasurable experiences for the rest of your life. The simulation is ultra realistic and indistinguishable from reality. There are no adverse side effects, and specific pleasurable experiences can even be programmed into the simulation. Regarding pleasure experience, the machine offers more than what is possible in several lifetimes. Do we have a reason not to go in?
Productivity. How long have we been in there? Productivity out the fucking window. This is another Star Trek problem, right? Sorry, you didn't roll your dice. Roll your dice.
Daniel.
Star Trek.
Yeah, definitely not. I don't go in because the majority of the things that make me happy is like going to dinner with my sister on Friday nights, playing Friday Night Hots with you guys, having some drinks and wrecking noobs. And I can simulate all those things, but I would know they're not real. And that would take away literally all the pleasure because I'm not actually interacting with real people. I'm interacting with a computer. Even if it's before I go in, even I would know it's just going to be tricking my brain, so I just wouldn't go in.
But-
Like if
okay.
I go in, I understand like maybe it'll trick me into thinking I'm really doing these things and I'm really like hanging out with friends and family, but I would never have gotten in the first place because the question is, do you go in, right?
Do we have any reason not to go in? What are the reasons not to go in?
I got
It's all fake.
Okay, but hold on. I know this. We shouldn't dissect it too much, but like, is this a permanent thing? Are you going in forever, or is this a going in every once in a while, going in on a Friday night?
It's at a lifetime of pleasure or whatever, happiness.
I think you can do either. The way I interpret it is you go in and that is it. That is your life.
Because like, I'm going to use Star Trek as examples again, because I think the holodeck is a perfect analogy for this, or perfect or parallel to it. Because there's a character in Star Trek that's repeating, that's literally addicted to the holodecks, and he gets banned from it. You know, like because he starts doing like really sketchy things with main characters of the show, like creating these love interests and stuff, and he starts not really being able to. He can distinguish reality from that, but he's clearly addicted to the environment. If this is a permanent thing and you're going in forever, that's a hard one, right? Because like, if this is a societal thing, like, if every other need is taken care of, and you're in that Dyson sphere futuristic, like, you don't have, like, everything is basically settled, do you just stop progressing as a society at that point? Unless you're like,
I don't think society is your concern here. I think your personal life is your concern, so you just ignore that.
Sure, if we ignore that,
so
and do
society's not going to
I
match your
I want to hear Leonard's
like if
take
on
on
an
this
individual take.
before I go.
The reason is not to, is it?
Do we have any reason to not go in there?
I think it depends on the stage in life. I would say you have a reason not to go because we haven't truly, if you're young, you haven't truly discovered everything that gives you happiness or pleasure. And I think having more time spent to discover that, and if you are, say, old enough and you're terminal, you have a terminal disease or something, I think there's plenty of reason to go into the machine, right? I would say time is more of a factor here. Like you have fewer reasons as you age or as you become less capable of feeling joy. So as you feel less and less, and this machine can guarantee that, then yeah.
What's the age you would decide to go in?
I guess that's different for everyone, right? Because some people who are, say, physically active will probably feel
I mean
really young at 60, you know? For me is, I don't have an age. It's more like, if let's say it starts to ache everywhere when I start walking, you know, like hard to get out of bed, like I am physically in pain trying to get around, then there'll be plenty of reason to be in there, right? I guess I assume it's going to be the same for a lot of people too.
Is this
multiplayer
multiplayer?
On your life situation at that time?
Biggest question: is this multiplayer?
I also imagine it being multiplayer.
Multiplayer? Fuck yeah! Plug me in. Let's go.
There is a series on Amazon for this. It's called Upload. It's a series about people who uploaded their minds into like this simulated universe that is designed to be like kind of perfect. Like they eat whatever they want, they live in like a beautiful place. It is multiplayer, by the way. It's a comedy, so don't take everything too seriously. But I thought it was really good.
I saw it pop
I'll
up
check
on.
it out.
Also available on Plex.
I saw it first on Amazon. That's why I kind of recommended it. But it's called Upload. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
But I mean, I think the multiplayer thing kind of changes the dynamics of it a little bit. But
can you start that sentence again? Sorry, you were super quiet at the beginning.
Sorry, I was gonna say the multiplayer aspect of it changes the dynamics of it quite a bit. Like the fact that I can still interact with friends and family. If it's a permanent flip in, then like that's basically you're looking at the human concept of afterlife, right? Or the idealized concept of afterlife. And that makes me sound a little bit more suicidal when I'm like, plug me in, but like
no, I think we go in. I think we should go in. I think that the number one thing we can do in our life is to create like happiness. And this is it. This makes happiness. This makes pleasure. Especially if you can experience it with other people, that's great. But it is no adverse effects. Like, I want to go out drinking. I get freaked out afterwards. I think I'm dying. But if I can go out drinking in this ultra realistic thing and have none of those adverse effects, yes,
I still wouldn't agree.
100%.
So a couple questions with that though. Again, this is permanent, right? Like I've uploaded your brain to it. That's all over, right?
Yeah.
And now, are we in a futuristic society where people aren't having to go work at McDonald's to make a living? Are we in like
Absolutely, yeah.
Where this isn't
yeah.
today. This isn't
No.
an idealized society where we're probably peaked as a species.
Yeah. Yep.
Because
this
like
is,
if there's okay.
This is past self-actualization.
Because like if this is like today, I think it's an awful thing to create because too many people who are in positions to make actual change would decide to go in there and do it. And then we'll see a stunting of society because, again...
Well, and then that's the other thing, is that pleasure is not always the same for everybody. Like, some people get pleasure from writing philosophical papers. Some people get pleasure from discovering new
Sure, but
medicine.
if you're in an environment that's just feeding you this, being like, I've created perpetual motion! But, like, you didn't because you're in a fucking simulation, right? So that doesn't actually go anywhere and do anything because you just got the chemical thing saying you did it, and then you've got evidence in front of you because it's there, it's a program.
If it really is like a holodeck and there is no actual effect, I agree with you. However, I do think that you do things, I make programs that solves problems that I can't solve problems in reality, right?
But here's the problem is, once you're in there and you're doing that, now that's a bad feeling. And this whole environment's about stemming bad feelings, right? Like, it feels bad to not figure it out, so it's not going to let me not figure it out. Because that's why I'm in here, is to feel good for the rest of my life. Unless you feel good about feeling bad, and then you start hitting But again, you still have to base that on, like, in that environment. Like, if it's so individualized, the multiplayer is going to be a little harder again. I hate Daniel. Am I ever going to see him in my VR session?
I know, this reminds me so much of like VR and what the metaverse wants to be. Okay, so sorry. So this line makes me say we have no reasons to stay out, and it is, regarding pleasure experience, the machine offers more than is possible in several lifetimes.
Mm.
It's just, if I have that ability to give that, why wouldn't I? Like, I am, like, causing pain by not letting somebody experience that pleasure. So,
hologram's bad for productivity. I agree with Leonard's, like, all right, if you're going to die anyway, let's go. If society's already to the point where, like, it's already, like, perpetually advancing with little to no human input, then fuck yeah, let's fucking plug in. If it's today, I think that'd cause more problems than good. Like, I think it'd be like the next drug epidemic, and you'd start having, like, countries banning it and, like, arresting people. You'd have, like, opium dens of VR.
I feel like this thought experiment completely discounts the value of living through pain or having, like, overcoming hardships.
So this is a thought experiment specifically designed to shatter the hedonistic utilitarian. The person who believes that pleasure and happiness is the ultimate goal for everyone, and that is the only, like, the purpose of life for everyone.
Picked an interesting group of people to bring that one up.
I identified as a hedonist for a long time, also, as well as a utilitarian.
Everyone who's watching this knows we're all horrible people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The mental gymnastics around Shafa alone.
What? I have not even him.
Bro, the mental gymnastics around Asun were way wilder.
Oh my god, you're not wrong.
I stand by.
I know you do. That's the mental gymnastics.
I still think she's a horrible person. I don't know if I did any mental gymnastics for her. I felt like everyone in that book was pretty bad.
Tonki? What did Tonki ever do that was bad, besides for almost losing an arm because she was
What did Tonki ever do?
This
was a question.
Period.
Oh my god. Yeah, she had so much potential.
I don't know.
Yep, that's the author's fault.
Well, I think that's what I have it for thought experiments. I do have more for a later date, but
Okay. Are we going to do another philosophy podcast?
I don't know. We could do something a little bit more pointed as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do pointed. I want to hear more direct arguments instead of mostly us agreeing in different forms.
Yep.
It might also be interesting to take like debate modern, a little more modern, like specific, like you said, pointed.
I had one that I was
Oh.
gonna debate specifically because I've been wanting to talk with you specifically, Daniel, about this for a while.
I'm game.
But we
Unless
can
you don't want to
it
do it.
on or off the podcast.
Let's throw it out there and we'll see how it goes.
We can always cut it. I have a feeling. I have a feeling. Continue.
I don't cut most things that are involving my opinions, so.
Okay.
So how does it feel to be a Nazi? Okay. You can cut that out.
You wake up in the morning and find yourself back to back in bed with an unconscious violinist, a famous unconscious violinist. He has been found to have a fatal kidney ailment, and the Society of Music Lovers has canvassed all the available medical records and found that you alone have the right blood type to help. They have therefore kidnapped you, and last night the violinist's circulatory system was plugged into yours so that your kidneys can be used to extract poisons from his blood as well as your own. If he is unplugged from you now, he will die. But in 9 months, he will have recovered from his ailment and can safely be unplugged from you. Are you obligated to keep the musician alive, or do you cut him loose and let him die because you want to?
This is the specific real world example that you had a question for me.
This happened to me twice last year, dude.
Yeah. I think, you are obligated to stay with him. All right, so let me see if I'm understanding this. You were kidnapped. You're hooked up basically by an umbilical cord to this dude. You're filtering the poisons out of him, and you have to hang out with him for 9 months. Otherwise, he dies.
Yep.
And you choose whether to unplug yourself or not.
No, the question is, are you obligated to keep him alive?
Yeah, I think so.
I do not believe that's the case.
No.
I think bodily autonomy is one of the foundations of being a human, but
I think
this is definitely a really strong about way of an abortion concept.
Okay, so I think you do not have the right to kill him, but you do have a right from stopping him from using your body.
I think there's no difference in this case, right? Stopping him from using your body is killing him. You just said you don't have a right to kill him.
I do. Those are two different things.
You can't just say that without.
Yeah. So, I mean, they are two different things. Like, you don't have a right to murder him. You don't have a right to kill him. But your lack of action is not.
You can't actively kill him, but you do have bodily autonomy.
You're taking direct. Yeah. You are actively disengaging the tube.
Okay.
You are actively ending his life.
Okay.
That's taking direct action.
All right. Next thought experiment, related but different. Imagine that you are walking down the street and notice a child drowning in a lake. You can swim and are close enough to save her if you act immediately. However, doing so ruins your expensive shoes. Do you still have an obligation to save the child?
Yes.
Okay. So do you agree you have a responsibility to save the life of a dying child, and price is no object?
No. I would say your shoes are no object.
But there's a price?
I think eventually, yes, there's a price on every human life.
Okay.
I don't think you can be, because otherwise you can be like the entire U.S. GDP. Like, let's give this up for one human being. and that's super unrealistic.
Okay.
As idealist as it is, it's also incredibly dumb in the real.
Okay, so your shoes are worth the GDP of the U.S.
Do not say kick your shoes up. Your shoes are affixed to your feet.
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
I mean,
either. This is the scenario.
Your shoes are worth the GDP. I mean, that's such
Yeah,
a ridiculous example. It's
but,
like,
but this is the point. This is.
I know, but it's like, so does the U.S. not have any money after I go save this child? I need to know like the practical.
Okay.
If these are just shoes I owned, and it's
Did
just
you
my
not
personal
insure your
wealth,
GDP shoes? God damn it!
if it's just my personal wealth that's at stake, then yes. But if it's, an entire country is going to go starving, then no. You have to look at the effects of it.
Okay. So I'm gonna direct this to Rick or Leonard. This next one, then.
Cool.
Since
those two had very interesting parallels. Like the first one being abortion, and the second one being workers' safety.
Well, we're not done with this one. We're not done with either of them.
Okay. Worker safety.
Yeah.
So
like I would put that with like worker safety. Exactly. Kind of. I can go into it, but let's go with the third one.
So Rick, imagine you're walking down the street and notice a child drowning in a lake. You can swim. Are you gonna sacrifice your fancy shoes?
Yeah.
Okay. So you do have the responsibility to save this dying child.
And responsibility, obligation. Absolutely not. Yeah, they're gone.
Okay.
They're fine.
If you are obligated to save the life of a child in need, is there a fundamental difference between saving a child in front of you and one on the other side of the world?
Yes. There is a there is a circumstantial difference. If I'm the only person that can save the child in front of me, which is likely the scenario, then I am obligated to save that child. If there is a child in Africa that I could save, but there are many, many other opportunities, including local government, families, people, and other things, I am not the one necessarily obligated to save the child on the other hand. If I'm the only person that can save that child on the other side of the world, then yes, I am obligated. But if I'm not the only entity that is available to do that, if I'm not the only one to be able to do that, then that.
Let me kind of rephrase this a little bit. Okay. So you have this child. It's financially going to cost you the price of your shoes to save this child.
Sure.
And you are obligated to save this child that's drowning in front of you.
Sure.
Now there is this child who is starving on the other side of the world.
Sure.
For your price of shoes, could be given a meal.
Sure.
You have the same obligation.
I don't believe so, no. I do think it's a good thing to do, but I do not think it's an obligation at that point. We're talking about an immediate death. We're talking about I'm assuming I'm the only person here that is responding to this child drowning.
There could be other people. There's other people with shoes.
But to say that I am obligated to save somebody on the other side of town, even, let alone across the country, just because of a financial stake, then I'm not. If it's only a financial stake, I'm not the one necessarily obligated, right? Like there's so many other individuals and entities and opportunities for that child to be saved. Period. To where it would take the actual obligation, my specific obligation, away. Granted, is it still a good thing to do? Yes. Is it a morally right thing to do? Yes. Is it morally bad to not partake in donating to that child? I don't necessarily think so.
To me, it really sounds like it's really just coming down to vicinity for you, whether or not.
It's not vicinity. It's opportunity for it's other opportunity and other people's obligations. The person in front of me, if there's no one else there doing it, then it's my obligation. If there's no one else to do it and I have an opportunity to give a kid in Africa or the Middle East or wherever $5 to eat, and I am the only one that can do it, and I have the opportunity to do it, I'll give that kid $5. But that's not. It's not just vicinity though. That is opportunity. That's direct opportunity, and that's direct interaction. Like if that person has a family, if this person has okay, so if this kid's drowning and their family sitting right there watching the kid drown, I think that takes away my obligation to save the kid too.
Okay.
I'm not saying that it's not wrong. It's probably wrong for me not to go attempt to go help.
There's no wrong or right here. We're talking obligation purely.
Right. But obligation, no, that's no longer my obligation. If there is other opportunities, if there's more responsible parties for that particular person, my obligation is gone.
What if you see that they're clearly not going to save the kid? Like they literally turn around and start walking away.
And I see that, like I see everyone walking away. Like, that's my obligation again because they're not doing it. They're not partaking. Okay. They're not involved in the activity anymore. It's as if they weren't there. Again, same thing with the kid across the world. If
everyone else is walking away.
Yeah,
but you can't know that. You don't see every single person in this obligation.
Well, then how am I giving that kid $5 to eat?
Through a donation.
Okay, but that's a third party that's partaking in that. That's not like the donation. You know what I mean? Like that's another. That's another entity there.
I love this as a past fundraiser. The mentality that somebody else will donate.
It's not just that somebody else will donate because like if I'm like it's not that there's another entity there. It's not again. You're talking obligation, not whether it's a right thing or wrong thing to do. An obligation is different than a moral choice.
So yeah. So for it still sounds like it's just coming down to vicinity
But it's not vicinity. It's because.
So you have the same situation. Nobody is going to donate to this kid who desperately just needs $50.
And it does come down to it. But how do I get the kid $50? Am I Venmoing him?
Yeah, Venmo.
That's a third party again. But yeah, then if I had evidence of this kid doing it, I have to that's again questioning motives and stuff like that too. Because the Nigerian prince is going to ask me for $50 too. How do I know he's not a drowning kid?
Leonard, do you sacrifice your expensive shoes?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what are the consequences of sacrificing the shoes first?
You're out your fancy shoes.
Yeah, I mean I think
you can't kick them off. You don't have time to kick them off before you save the kid.
It's actually a lot harder to swim with your shoes on. But I mean, back to similar to what Daniel said. If let's say my fancy shoes are responsible for some other people's lives for some reason, then I feel like that obligation is greater, right? Isn't that now just a measure of which is the heavier obligation at the time? If my shoes are responsible for the livelihood or lives of other people, then that weighs more than.
Yeah, so that is something that we had just read into this thought experiment. Is not an intended thing of the thought experiment. Your shoes are purely just your shoes. They do not represent the GDP. They are expensive, though, and they are yours. And it is a price that you have to pay in order to save this drowning child.
I feel like the shoes then are just useless add-on.
Yeah.
Because
they're not worth that much.
Yeah.
You know what? I think vicinity matters. Fuck that.
Okay.
If someone dying on the moon, I can't do shit about that. Not only that, but there's so many people that intercept my money to the moon.
Okay. So going back to our violinist who is only being kept alive. Let's say that how would you right now with the violinist being hooked up to your circulatory system, they are obligated, the hosts are obligated to keep them attached. Okay, Rick says no. Daniel says yes. Leonard? No.
I was put here involuntarily in the first place.
That bodily autonomy is pretty important.
I also agree that there you have no obligation to this person. Daniel, how do you feel about, say that you have this scenario again, except this person found out that they were that they found out that they were going to be kidnapped and they would have. Oh, okay. This isn't going to work.
How would you
Okay,
feel if you
how
found
would
out the
you-
other dude had a blood disease?
Wait, let's go with Lexi's.
So let's think about, so there you have this violinist and they are in need of your kidneys. And you
I
have
haven't been
just died.
kidnapped at this point.
No. You have died in a tragic car accident and you are not an organ donor.
Okay.
Do they have a right to your kidneys?
I had a conversation when I was like, I don't know, 21 with a ex-girlfriend who was very edgelord at the time, and she was talking about how she thinks necrophilia should be allowed or should be legalized. And we discussed basically if like the person gives consent before they die, like then maybe, kind of thing. And it feels very much like this question. I think it's, sorry, can you repeat the question? I got way off track.
No, I just got a slice of Daniel's life that I am so curious about because
Did you
I have a
consent,
question.
Daniel, by the way?
I'm not dead yet.
But
Oh,
did
yeah,
you
this is
consent?
This is the organ donor. Do they have a right to it? No. I don't think it's ethically or morally wrong for them to take it if they can do it, but like there's so many factors that come into it. And
Okay.
I think almost all of them revolve around the deceased's family, right?
So you just said a word here that I just want to talk about, and
Yeah.
that's consent. So this dead person did not consent to their body parts. So why does the dead person consent matter more than the alive person's consent?
Because it's the dead person's organs, liver or whatever it was.
It's also the alive person's kidneys that are filtering this person's blood.
Yeah, but it's the dead
They didn't
person's
consent.
kidneys that are theirs. The dead person isn't asking for the other person's kidneys.
No. The dead person has the proper. So the person that's dying. Okay, so you have two people, or you have. So the first thought experiment, you have the person who has the
pretty sure I
kidneys for the
understand.
violinist, and then you have the second one. It's dead. That has
Yeah.
the kidneys.
I die. I have healthy kidneys, which is the joke. And violinist is losing his kidneys. He wants mine, right?
Yes, but
Yeah.
you did not consent to give your kidneys.
Exactly. Yeah, they're
So-
my kidneys. That's why consent matters.
Okay, so
That being said, I don't think it's morally or ethically wrong if they did it like in secret or something, or if the family had no problem with it, then that's fine. But I'm literally going to be buried or cremated, and nobody's going to ever notice, except a mortician.
So I think you answered one way and then described the other answer.
Did I?
Yes, you're like you're saying yes. Like I didn't like the concept is you did not consent to your organs and they took them anyway, and you're like, yeah, you have the right to do like they're your organs and your family's got to choose it. And then the other side is like they can have them because like really like it's just what else are you gonna do with them?
I don't think they have the right to it. I don't think they're owed my kidneys, but I also don't think it's like morally or ethically wrong for them to take him.
Okay, is it morally or ethically wrong for them, to the family or yourself, to stop them from taking it?
Yeah, if they had a reason for it.
It is
The
wrong
reason
or
is
it's
consent.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is a hard question because I am an organ donor and I don't care what happens to my organs, and I think my entire family knows that, so it's like a hard thing to like wrap my mind around somebody who would be like, no, I really want to keep these organs and let them rot in my grave, you know?
Some family, there's some religious.
I'm not
And
an
there's
organ
absolutely
donor.
people that are like that. Like, it doesn't like click in my brain, you know?
Okay, I actually am an organ donor, but for the sake of this thing, like, I am not an organ donor.
Like,
okay?
can I ask you real quick? Why are you such a horrible person and not just donating your organs after you die?
Because I want to rot with them.
Perfect.
Don't we all?
Same.
Okay. So why? So you don't think there's anything ethically wrong with a grave robber coming to take your healthy kidneys for this guy who's sick that needs
I mean,
them?
that's way too late to be grabbing them. You'd have to grab them in the morgue. They're only
Okay.
good for like 12 hours.
I think fucking take him. I think the whole organ donorship is fucking stupid. This should not be an option. What the fuck? But that's me.
I think people should have autonomy and respect for their beliefs even after their death.
Their
okay,
beliefs
but
are
not
fine.
while they're alive.
They're dead.
No, and when they're alive. What?
Right, no, but you're saying that this dude is obligated to keep his kidneys connected to this violinist.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't make that choice.
Yeah, because otherwise you're literally killing him.
You did not consent to.
They were dying. They were dying already.
I know. You didn't consent to having it being done, but it's done. That's the reality. Just because you were put in this position doesn't make it not reality. That you disconnected, person dies.
Nobody is like saying that he's not going to die. Like, he will die.
So what if it comes to okay, so now that you're connected, what if taking you off is a 50-50 shot whether you die or not? What if this connection has a negative impact on your health at all?
You're talking about after the 9 months,
or during
if you want to go
during the 9 months,
or during, after, it doesn't matter. What if this whole procedure now impacts you? What if there's a 25% chance to die? What if there's a 50% chance to die? What if he's got a disease, pathogen that's going to get you fucking ill for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I mean, there's a million different examples we could run through.
I'm saying anything though, because there's going to be a negative.
You'd have to look at percentages. Like, what are the odds of? I think so. Really? If there's like a 0.004% chance that you're gonna catch something.
Let's say it's a 4% chance you're gonna die. Let's say 4. That's a really low number, but still high enough to be concerned. I
think you're still obligated, but it's also it's like how much is a human life worth, right? It's like that argument. No, I mean completely different argument. Like, how much is a human life worth if you had to start paying? Where do we stop, right? Is it $100,000
or paying?
Paying. How much money are you willing to give? Let's say you have X amount of dollars. Let's say you have $2 million. Are you willing to give $2 million for a human life? Let's say it's a stranger. Let's say it's somebody you don't even know.
On somebody on the other side of the world?
No. Let's say it's your neighbor. Somebody you don't really care about, but you're mildly
What if it's someone you hate?
Right? Or somebody you hate, right? Like, the government has a set number for what a human life is worth. But realistically, can you put a value on human life? Obviously, yes. But that value is different for different people, and depending on who the person is. I don't know. It's I feel like it's one of those arguments, right?
Okay, well, so here, what is the value of a famous unconscious violinist? Is his life greater than your consent?
He's going to gain consciousness again, right?
After 9 months. You guys are chilling in a bed for 9 months.
Oh, you're chilling in a bed for 9 months?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
you have to be
back up and walking.
Are you like Siamese twins?
I assume so, yeah.
Good lord.
Oh, he will have recovered.
At the end of it?
Conscious again.
At the end of it, or during?
At the end of it, not during. But yeah, you will have somebody back to back with in a bed for 9 months.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like just
Daniel's gonna plug it. When I get sick, Daniel, I know who I'm coming for.
Yeah. If you need a kidney, come to me, and if we
we're gonna plug up in an umbilical cord. We're gonna be chilling for 9 months side by side, bro. High five hots. It's gonna be great.
Okay. So I think we all agree that the violinist is a person with rights.
Yep.
Right? And we all agree that the you in this thought experiment is also a person with rights.
Yep.
Yeah. He has rights to his own shit. I have rights to mine. It's that simple.
Yeah.
But we can also agree that we three of us can agree that you do not have rights to another person's body without their consent.
I mean, that's definitely not the thing that I was saying.
I mean,
No,
not
it is.
actively, but it kind of
It
is.
is. It is.
No, it's definitely not.
You're saying that you're
You're-
obligated to give your consent, which isn't consent.
You say that it happened and that it's the reality. This is the situation. You
Yep.
are obligated to keep that. That is totally disregarding consent. That is
No,
completely.
consent has already been disregarded.
But you don't want the person. You continually do not want the person. It is a constant disconsent. It is not just a one and done.
No, the consent was disregarded without your consent, I guess. And that's the reality now, is that
So are
you
you
either kill this guy or you don't.
So you're
So you
obligated
have-
to continue to be against your own consent then? Like, I mean,
You're obligated to keep the person alive.
I'd probably. Honestly, I don't know what I'd do in that case. There's probably a
So-
money value there too. Like, what am I doing for this 9 months? If I'm in bed for 9 months and like everything else is going to shit, I don't know, man.
So I
For
I
sure.
don't-
And that's
so
what, yeah, we're all,
we're
you
not-
know,
we're
have
not
to consider
talking about
anything.
what is right. We are talking about what you are obligated to do. We're not talking about ethics. We're not talking about right or wrong. We're
Isn't
not putting a value in it.
obligation basically the same as ethics? Like, what are you ethically obligated to do?
It's related. It's.
I mean, if we're talking about like legally obligated, then I have
Definitely
no
not.
idea.
I think legally you probably definitely wouldn't be. But then again, legal obligation is weird because this is all an analogy for abortion, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Like that's what we're just talking about.
Yeah.
We could just talk about that. Like, especially if you were legally putting that, if you were putting that, most places, if you were not giving consent and you had a pregnancy, a lot of places, not most places anymore, a lot of places you have the capacity of being able to get an abortion.
I think the big difference between this example and the abortion example is
This one's a fully
everybody
human.
considers this a human, whereas, you know, not everybody considers a fetus a human.
Right. And that,
Yeah.
right.
And so I think it's
That's why
convenient to skip that argument.
But I do think this is also more of just taking out the necessarily abortion part and just we're arguing about bodily autonomy right now. Do you have a right to your own body? Would that be illegal? Whether that be legal or whether
Well,
that be philosophical, like
So
or
I
moral.
think our sticking point is that so for me, like the lack of consent is this violinist does not have a right to your body. The violinist does have rights. And I think we're getting stuck on the fact that Daniel is equating that not doing something that results in the death of something is equal to murder. Whereas
first of all, I never said murder. I have
to
a very
kill someone.
I have a very specific definition for murder, and
Okay.
this is not it.
It requires intent.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Manslaughter. This is a manslaughter.
the second degree manslaughter.
Each state has different manslaughter. Like, I don't know.
So you are equating the
Let's just say
lack
killing
of
them.
doing something to actively killing them. You did say that earlier, and I will give you a chance to fix that if you'd like.
Actively disconnecting the thing to killing them. Yes, correct.
Is actively killing them.
Yes.
Okay, and I think that's where we
you are
disagree.
literally actively taking this pipe and disconnecting it, or this tube and disconnecting it.
In that phrasing, I agree with Daniel. You are actively killing them in the sense that you are tied to them, but are you
my
now
gosh,
obligated to keep them alive? No.
You are not killing them. Their failing kidneys are killing them.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
You're choosing to let the kidneys kill them.
You have an opportunity to save them. Do you have the obligation to? No. Do you have a legal obligation? Definitely not. But
If I push someone in front of a car, the car is killing them, but I still killed them.
Well, that's
Okay, but you
different,
didn't.
though.
That is still. You're still like. That's not the right example, and I don't know how to tell you why it's not.
If they're on an iron lung and the power went out, the machine's not what killed them. It's their bad lungs that killed them.
Yes.
If I unplug the iron lung,
That's Daniel killing them.
No.
Yes. Yes. I would agree.
Okay. That's the exact same example.
No, it's different
I'm
because
unplugging
the person in this example is being used as a machine.
Yeah,
They have no autonomy. They have no consent.
So the machine is never what killed them. It was their lungs that killed them.
Yes.
For all those kids situations.
For what?
All right.
For all the situations.
If I unplug the machine and they die, that's the exact same as I am the machine. So if I unplug myself from this violinist and they die, that's the exact same as unplugging an iron lung.
Did you just kill yourself in this situation?
Let me rephrase the question a little bit, then, Daniel. If let's say you are right next to this guy and you are not plugged into him right now, if you do not plug yourself into him, he dies. What would you do?
Yeah, this is a totally different, like, yeah, we're not debating the same thing at all anymore.
No, but this is important.
Okay. If I have the opportunity to hang out with this dude for 9 months and save his life, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, if you could just plug in and save him, or if you don't plug in, he dies, would you consider that an action? You know, are you killing him by not plugging
I
him?
would do it, but I also, work remotely and I could hang out on my computer and still have my job. And
Wow.
well, what do you want me to say? That would be.
All right, we can all be plugged into him when we need.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
I already offered you a kidney.
I appreciate it, buddy. You can have a kidney too. But I'm not obligated to give it to you. I'm willing.
Definitely not.
Consenting. Yeah. This what a fun time, guys. Woo!
I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hey, you listeners. Thank you for.
I think the first was more accurate.
Thanks for hanging out with us, truly. We are definitely a bunch of misfits, but we would love to hear your misfit opinion also, or if you just want to correct us, because we probably are a little bit far from what we were trying to say. Tune in next time. We love you guys, and hope you come back. Have a great day. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
And we're the discount bin.
We're discount bin.
I was actually going to add something to say that, hey, if you guys watch this episode and would like to leave a comment, tell us which one of us is the biggest asshole.
I like it.
I'll
it might
add
be
that.
me. Talking over everybody. It's hard. It's hard not to.